story here this week. Tuesday night, a horrifying incident. Chinese national vault champion, 17-year-old Sang Lan, was paralyzed after apparently losing control during a routine warm-up vault. Now, as we went to air, Sang had just come out of spinal stabilization surgery at Nassau County Medical Center. Also, Sang is being treated with an experimental drug that is supposed to regenerate nerve endings in the spinal column. The same drug was used successfully to treat former New York Jet Dennis Bird. Now, as far as we know, this is the only footage that exists of Sang's fall. It was captured by CBS cameraman Ken Wu as he was shooting other activity. In the right of the frame, you first see the takeoff, Sang in red. Then after the maneuver, the missed landing. The fall on her head caused a fracture dislocation of 2 vertebrae. And right now, our Armin Katayan is live at the Nassau County Medical Center with an update about Sang's surgery. Armin, what do you know?
Michelle, Sang came out of surgery, as you said, just a little over an hour ago. According to a hospital spokesman, the surgery was successful. There were no complications, and she's now resting comfortably. She went into surgery a little after 8 o'clock in the morning when a team of surgeons had to do 2 things. One, they had to work on the dislocations and the fractures in her neck to fuse them in her spine and to insert a bar into her back to help stabilize her back so she can sit up. She's doing fine. Right now, she's resting comfortably. We'll know a little bit more later on.
Armin, we also understand that Dennis Bird actually visited with her in the hospital yesterday. What do you know about their meeting?
Well, that was an ironic story, Michelle. Dennis Bird, as you know, in November of 1992 is a New York Jets lineman in a freak accident, had problems with his spine and a paralyzation in his spine. He recovered remarkably about 3 months later and walked into almost in a miracle into a press conference. Yesterday he was at the Jets camp. By chance, he found out about Sang's injury, came over to the hospital. They had a 90-minute conversation together. It was described as an emotional conversation. One of the things he said was she was a little doll and that she really loves Beanie Babies. The final thing is her parents are due here tonight. They're flying in from China, the mother and the father. They'll be at a press conference tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock at the hospital where they will give further details. A Chinese spokesman asked that no details be given out until tomorrow morning. All that will be heard tomorrow on her prognosis for the future.
All right, Armin, thank you so much. We'll be hearing from you a little bit later on. We are joined now by our gymnastics expert, Olympic gold medalist Peter Vidmar. Thank you so much for joining us. First of all, what is the most important thing the gymnastics community takes away from an incident like this?
Well, I think they all want to know really what happened. It really was a freak accident. A handspring timer is a very common thing. I guess it's best described as this. We've all jumped off a diving board. We hit the board. We want to land with our hands first in the water. But if we hit the board too hard or rotate too much, we land on our back. And she was doing her vault. She apparently either hit the board too hard or tucked in too much, rotated too much, and her head hit the mat first for a very tragic accident. And our hearts and prayers go out to her family.
One of the things that happens when something this serious takes place, the reaction trends toward panic. But this is a very rare occurrence.
It's extremely rare. This vault is done by thousands of kids throughout the country. It really is not that big of a deal. Her coach wasn't even there to spot her. And so when it happened, it was very, very shocking.
Peter, you were there on Tuesday. What was the reaction immediately after the fall?
Well, everyone there was very professional, and the people that were working in emergency and medical at the Goodwill Games were just phenomenal. Actually, what happened was when she hit, there were...
Russian Svetlana Korkina, sleek and stylish, has a confident aura, as she should, being the reigning world and Olympic champion. But there may be a challenge from 16-year-old Maria Oleru, the latest product from the long, mighty Romanian gymnastics factory. Backstage, America's Dominic Moceanu smiles nervously. She's come to New York weary from a cold. Her athletic life has soured after the sweetness of Atlanta when she shared team gold. Then she was the tiniest of the magnificent 7, just 4 feet 5 inches, weighing 75 pounds. 2 years later, she's grown 7 inches and added 20 pounds. It's a change that has caused her great difficulties. Struggling with her new body has been an enormous challenge. Last year, she was 9th at the Nationals, 14th at the World Championships. She considered leaving the sport. Her goal here is to win a medal. Any color will do. Korkina's first event? The vault. Once, she had been discouraged from continuing. Too tall, said the coaches. But instead, she's put her uniqueness to use. And although she performs her trademark vault, it's less than stellar, and she must settle for a 9.487, instantly opening the door for other contenders. Moceanu's first event would be the uneven bars. It's important to get off to a good start, calm her nerves, perform effectively and error-free. And that she did, a solid performance, earning a score of 9.625. World champion Svetlana Korkina barely takes notice. Moceanu, not yet a threat. The young Romanian Maria Oleru starts her competition also at the bars. As a child, age 7, she left home and went to the Romanian city of Diva, site of perhaps the best gymnastics school in the world. And it's paid off well. Her score of 9.55 puts her in second place behind Moceanu. As the competition enters the second rotation, Korkina moves to the uneven bars, where she is the European, World, and Olympic champion. Her routine is perfectly constructed to hide her lack of explosive power, but highlight her clean, artistic lines. Her performance is magnificent, 9.8, the best of the night thus far. Moceanu now moves to the critical beam, where she has shined but also stumbled before in big meets. The changes Dominique has endured since Atlanta have been endless. Aside from her growth spurt, she's embarked on a long and seemingly disruptive quest for the right club and the right coach. Once with Bella Caroli, she now trains under the direction of Luminita Misenko. And although she was clearly not at her best earlier in the year, she has said over and over how important the Goodwill Games are to her, if anything at least to serve as a marker to see if she really can contend now with the very best in the world. With only her double back dismount to go, she knows if she hits, she'll be in the hunt. She scores a 9.750, and now Svetlana Korkina takes notice. And on the beam is another with a real chance to beat her, Maria Oleru. With a solid routine, she could move into first. Too young to compete in the 1996 Olympic Games and last year's World Championships, her coach says she needs more experience in senior competitions like this. Her routine finishes with a layout triple twist dismount. But Oleru cannot advance. Her score drops her to third place. Svetlana Korkina is cruising now. Her bar routine has pushed her into second, right behind the unlikely leader, Dominique Moceanu. Moceanu had come to New York sick from cold and fever, weary from lack of sleep. But at the halfway mark, despite all this, she was competing for gold with the best in the world. One-tenth of a point over world and Olympic champion Svetlana Korkina. Moceanu was not supposed to be leading at this point. She'd even recently thought of giving up the sport. But now she's on the verge of a comeback, of reestablishing herself among the sport's elite. In this, the third rotation, Moceanu performs her floor exercise. If there's one event in which Moceanu's growth spurt has helped her, it has to be the floor, where she's able to tumble with more force and power. And there's also a maturity about her as well in her dance and her presentation. As Olaru waits her turn on the floor, Moceanu sits comfortably. Her score, 9.7. Moceanu, the surprise, has put the pressure on Corkina. Maybe the first time in years that the exquisite Russian has had the uncertain feeling of being part of the pack, not the one who is chased. Halfway through the competition, Maria Olaru is in third. She'll need a near-flawless performance to overtake Moceanu. The floor has always been one of her better events, but the time is now. Moceanu is not going away, and the Russian champion Corkina cannot be dismissed. But this will not be Olaru's night. With a score of 9.25, she drops to fourth. Moceanu has held off one of her rivals. The other is about to compete. If Svetlana Corkina makes just one mistake on the balance beam, she will not win the gold. Instead, she'll have to settle for a medal of another color, which is ironically how Moceanu began the evening, knowing she might have to settle for less. This event is notoriously the most nerve-wracking of all apparatus. But Corkina has no weaknesses. That's why she's the world all-around champion. A stumble. She stumbles again on a required jump. There will be no gold for Svetlana Corkina. Following the European Championships, the Russians and Romanians were hoping to dominate, maybe not expecting to face such a well-prepared rival in American Dominic Moceanu. Two costly mistakes. Corkina knows that the judges will mark her down, and they do. She came to New York to win another championship. She was expected to do so. Now the reigning world and Olympic champion may not even win a medal. A bronze is barely in reach. This is now Dominic Moceanu's competition to win. She's in first. On this night, after a long struggle with the awkwardness of a new growing body, after injuries and wandering motivation, a change in coaches, her perseverance is about to pay off. Her vault is more than enough to guarantee victory. Dominic Moceanu had won the all-around competition at the Goodwill Games. And at last, she had begun a new chapter in her athletic life. She had a future. Perhaps there was more Olympic glory to be claimed. As for Korkina, the 19-year-old Russian wonder, she would conclude with a terribly disappointing floor routine, finishing 7th. Romanian Maria Olaru would claim the silver. Moceanu had passed the most important test in her gymnastics life since that golden night in Atlanta. In a New York arena, her career had been reborn.
I was bursting in tears. I've always dreamed and imagined, this moment, and coming back from what I've been through since '96, it just means a heck of a lot more.